Hey, my name is Jakob, but you can just call me Jake. Welcome to Choo. We're coming into spring here in South Australia, in winter and in spring in South Australia, and in a lot of different parts in Australia. This fucking shit keeps popping up everywhere. Here we call it onion weed, but another common name is three-cornered garlic. The thing about weeds is that they're only weeds when they're not from your country. This, in other parts of the world, is actually not a weed. It is three-cornered garlic. It has a bunch of other names. Some people call it false garlic, and is entirely edible, delicious, and quite nutritious. So today, we're going to be cooking with onion weed. So today I'm going to make a simple traditional Australian damper with a twist. The twist is, it's not fucking traditional at all. So this is a recipe that I got from my mother. It's based on damper or even a bush bread, except we're not using crushed seeds. We're just gonna, well, I guess flour is crushed seeds. I don't know what I'm talking about. The point is, I'm gonna add yeast and a bunch of other stuff, including the onion weed, herbs and spices, and instead of cooking it on coals, we're gonna cook, you know what, it's not even a damper. It's probably not even a damper, it's just bread. But it's a very, very simple bread recipe that if you've been following any of these videos, you would have seen it before. We've made dumplings out of it before, which was awesome. I made a pizza dough out of it. I often use it as a pie, or probably more similar to a Cornish pastry, because a traditional Australian pie would have used puff pastry. This is not a puff pastry. It doesn't have any butter in it. Really nice to add butter to it afterwards. So this very, very simple bread recipe you can use for just about anything. One time I made it really nice and flat. I filled it up with meat and cheese, and I put another bit of bread on it, pinched it shut, threw it in the oven for, I don't know, half an hour on about 180 or 220, something like that, Celsius. And all the cheese melted through the meat. It was basically like a calzone. And I swear to God, when I ate that, I came in my pants a little bit. So this dough is very, very versatile. It's great for eating. It's great for coming. What the fuck am I talking about? Okay, let's make this shit. Come along now, Woody. We've much to discuss. It's got a very strong smell. You probably recognize that smell when you run over the onion weed with your lawnmower. So I like to collect the ones with just the flowers, but pretty much any of this is edible. But the flowers do make for a very nice garnish, provided your dog hasn't pissed all over it, that is. Or, you know, your drunken mates. Now, usually I just eyeball this shit. You can be more precise if you want. We're making a damper. I'll probably put like, I guess that's close to 2 cups. Dry yeast, baker's yeast. These are 7-gram sachets. Sachets. Black pepper, yum. Oh, fucking, let's put more in there, eh? Bit of salt. Shout out to my boys at Steiny's. These guys do the best jerky around out of the Barossa, and they do kangaroo metwurst and a whole bunch of metwurst, but the fact that they do kangaroo makes them fucking true blue heroes. This is some smoked salt. Just put a little bit of that in. You don't want too much of that. I use these as a garnish, so I like the flowers as a garnish. Plenty of oregano, that's yum. Sage. Now, this is not your typical culinary sage. This is a type of golden sage, I believe. I could be mistaken. There's quite a few different types of sage, but entirely edible, and it's quite strong. It's a very, very strong flavor, and it's full of sticky sap and things like that. So it's quite an interesting herb. It's a type of salvia, I think. Very, very yum. I use a shitload of that in everything. It's fucking neck lev. Straight in. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, mix all that around. I'm using chili honey. Any honey will do. Technically, honey is not vegan. I'm not a vegan, obviously. But if you don't want to use honey, if you are a vegan or you just don't like honey for whatever reason, because you're a psychopath, just use sugar. A couple of tablespoons of white sugar. Something sweet. This is chili honey. I got a chili festival. Shout out to these dudes. This is fucking yum. This is chili infused honey. You can actually see the little chili flakes in there. So you can add chili to this as well. Warm water to dissolve the honey. Don't use boiling water, because if you add boiling water to your dough, you could kill the yeast and your bread won't rise. That's no good. into the bowl. Good to keep a little bit of extra water on standby just in case. You're gonna have to knead this in a little bit. Wash your hands, you dirty pigs. Or don't. Maybe add some extra flavors. If you've gone to the toilet recently, you might add some extra cheesy flavors in there. So what you're aiming for texturally is a wet, sticky consistency, which is really fucking annoying because it's like impossible to get off your hands. But that sticky dough is what you want. If you're a fancy pants, get some olive oil. Any oil will do, but olive oil is fucking yum. And I'm going to serve this with balsamic vinegar and olive oil later. Olive oil can be quite overpowering. Okay. I'll just put a wet flannel over the top so it doesn't dry out. It'll keep it nice and moist. If the flannel's warm, it'll also add a little bit of humidity in there, which will help that yeast activate. It's going to take a few hours for the dough to rise, so grab some lemon mead that you've prepared earlier and play a horribly violent video game in the interim. Once you've finished slaying all the demons, including the ones inside your own mind, the dough should have risen, and now it's time to cook it. If there's bubbles forming around the edge, you know you're doing the right thing. That's the yeast activating and releasing CO2. Fucking rock and roll, look at that, mate. Hey. You're probably looking at 5 or 10 minutes either side. Flip it a couple of times, get it all nice and consistently heated. That was fucking sick, eh? Someone's had one too many. Kids these days. Damper or bush bread or whatever, they're not exactly the same thing, but damper, Australian bread, if you want to call it that, is a hard bread. You know, not unlike a rich sourdough or something like that. So you do want to cook it. It's okay if it gets a little bit brown, that's fine. A little bit black, that's fine, because it is traditionally cooked on coals anyway. So you want it typically to be a little bit harder than soft. That is the bread. If you like a soft bread, go and fucking make a soft bread. Damper is not a soft bread. It's a dense, rich bread. Obviously, the more different things you add to your damper, like I've added a whole bunch of the onion weed and various herbs and spices, it's going to come out with different consistency, etc. etc. If you wanted to add any of that, if you just go flour, yeast, honey, you're going to end up with a different consistency, but this is what we're doing for this. Mum always said to test a damper. Oh, that looks good. To test to see whether your damper is done, you give it a tap. Ooh, that's fucking hot. Let's go to the other side. See, I would probably want that to go a little bit longer, actually. Now I've just turned the fucking heat off. God damn it. Get out of here, Woody, you drunk son of a bitch. You give it a tap. If it sounds woody, hollow, kind of like crisp, then that's how you know it's done. If it is starting to get a little bit extra burnt, you've probably got your heat on too high. Turn your fucking heat down, you're fucking set, mate. Yo, that's hot. Oh, look at that, mate. Oh, fucking hell. Like, I know a lot of people who do YouTube cooking videos bite into a thing and do this big performance about how delicious it is. It's the same with homebrew guys, like, oh, I didn't fuck this up, and you can kind of tell that they did. I've been making this bread for like 15 years. I'm telling you, it is legit awesome. Adding the, oh man. Probably the caramelized balsamic vinegar is helping a lot, but the bread is so tasty. Ooh, I'm gonna have to get a little pillow, put it over my crotch. God damn, that is good. The onion weed is coming through. It sucks saying onion weed. Let's just call it 3/4 leek. So the thing about onion weed, the thing about 3/4 leek or allium, it's an allium trisepticon. I remember the botanical name, but the onion itself is the allium, I think. So that's the same family as leeks, garlic, onion, all of the stuff that we buy from the supermarket. This is the same family. It's just because it's a pest, we have this weird stigma about it. The reality is, it's a fucking delicious, yum little herb plant. Yummy, it's not a herb, but whatever it is. It's actually a bulb. So you can eat all of it. You can eat the stem, the flowers. Oh, I didn't put the fucking flowers on here. What a wanker. That would have been nice. Hang on a sec. Flowers for everyone. Woohoo! Oh, that looks good. Let me get a close up of that. So even the flowers are edible. They're kind of grassy, I suppose, but they do have that very subtle sort of leek or spring onion flavor. So my partner, Quinn, who you would have seen in some of the more recent videos, has some IBS issues, right? Which is unfortunate, which means garlic and onion fucks their shit up, like literally fucks it up. So we don't use that much onion and garlic in our cooking because unfortunately it really disrupts the bowels. This onion weed is a mild substitute. It's very nutritious, but it makes for an excellent substitute. And it just grows randomly everywhere through the Adelaide Hills. That's so good. The flowers on there, yum. The flowers, not only are they pretty and make like an excellent, just appearance-wise, they're actually quite flavorful. You wouldn't just munch into them. You obviously want to put them on things. This bread is delicious, cooked to perfection, crispy on the outside, soft and tender in the inside. All the little subtle spices I put in there are popping through. The onion weed, the green parts of the stem of the flower from the bulb, chop that up. Use that as you would chives or spring onion. That's how I like to use it. I put it on afterwards on a curry or something like that. Raw. Mostly onion weed is used in stir fries and things like that. Anything that you would use, like I said, chives or spring onions for, you can use this because it's pretty much the same plant. It's the same family. You might as well use it. You can also dig it up. The reason why it's called allium trisepticon is because the little bulb has it's more of a three-sided bulb. You would use that in the same way you would use shallots or onion. Admittedly, I haven't really done much cooking with the bulb because, again, my partner has some bowel issues and I imagine that using that would disrupt that. I'll probably give it a go because I got a bunch of it in the backyard. It's free food. Who doesn't like free food? Man, that is like legit awesome. I know I carry on about how good my shit is all the time. That's what you're supposed to do on YouTube. This is legitimately fucking fantastic. If you like bread, you will absolutely love this. I mean, and it's so cheap. It is so cheap to make. What's a bag of flour cost? A little bit of bread yeast, baker's yeast. Honey, not the cheapest thing, but I'm using a couple of tablespoons. Like I said, you can use sugar. The honey subtleties do come through. Onion weed, 3/4 garlic, 3/4 leek, fool's garlic, allium trisepticon, whatever it's fucking called, free. All the herbs I got from my own garden. This is really a really nice way to bulk out a meal. And like I said, you can stuff it with things. You can use this as a pastry. You can do anything you want with this. It's the possibilities are only limited by your imagination. Yeah, that is fucking good. God damn it. Too bad Quinn can't eat any of this. Gluten.
Wow, what are you doing? Should definitely cook this shit before you eat it.